Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mariah Ross. This is MicroCAD's Revit 2021 What's New webinar. I do see a lot of attendees popping in. Some of you I know, so hello and welcome back. Some of you I don't, so welcome. I am one of the techs here at MicroCAD. I am more proficient in Revit than anything else, so that's why I have been asked to walk you all through what is new this year. So with that, let's get started. And please feel free to ask any questions at any point in time throughout this webinar. I will try to address them as they come up, but if not, they will be addressed at the end. So one of the first things that you all will see when you open Revit 2021 this year is what is called a customized workspace. And this is going to be based upon your discipline and your primary job role for what you're using. For myself, I chose the architect workspace. So what that is going to do is going to hide that piping and structural tabs, so it's not cluttering up what I see every day. Now, if we do want to see those, and let me flip to Revit, we can certainly always go back to File, Options, User Interface, and we can click those tabs on and off at any point in time if we need them to come back or if we need them to hide. And you now see that they're all gone up there. So that really simplifies for your daily workflow. So it's pretty simple, but I think it can make a huge difference. All right, next up is generative design. So I know this is something that a lot of people have asked for in recent times. A lot of people have gone to Dynamo, and thankfully now it is part of Revit in itself. So what does the generative design bring to the table? It brings scale, speed, and precision to design studies. A Revit user can now run studies directly in the model and populate based upon the study's findings. So I'm going to try to show you all a video here. Hopefully it works. We tested it out yesterday and it was seamless, but with technology, you never know.
Generative design is a design exploration process to quickly generate and evaluate high-performing design alternatives. Until now, many generative design tools have been hard to use because they required our customers to know how to code, understand special terminology, or know how genetic algorithms work. Now you can use generative design directly in Revit to quickly generate design alternatives based on your goals, constraints, and inputs. Generative design provides a set of sample study types to demonstrate how this tool can be used to generate outcomes for design challenges. You can easily run one of the predefined studies or recipes with generative design in Revit, such as workspace layout or massing. Let's suppose you want to determine the best arrangement of desks in a large room. Your goals are to maximize the number of desks while also maximizing views to the outside. You may also want to minimize the distance from each desk to the nearest exit. After generative design has completed a study, you can explore the design alternatives to find the solution that best meets your needs. For each outcome, the parallel coordinates chart highlights its input and output value. You can also use this chart to filter and prioritize outcomes by simply clicking and dragging over one or more of the columns. Another way to review and analyze outcomes is through a scatter plot. You can use this chart's options to change the criteria used for the X and Y axes and format the outcome value. Once you've selected the outcome you'd like to implement in your model, simply select that outcome and click Create Revit Elements. The design change will appear in the model immediately. As you can see, this sample study helped me arrange the placement of desks in a large office room, giving me an optimal layout corresponding to my design goals. There are two other studies or recipes ready to be used. Maximize window views. You may use this sample study type with generative design to determine the best position in a room for optimal views to the outside. 3-box massing. You may use this sample study to generate alternatives for 3 adjacent buildings as simple masses to maximize floor area while minimizing surface area. Start using generative design to quickly evaluate design options and save time with automation.
All right, so as we can see, generative design is now a part of Revit. I've only very briefly have time to experiment with these new tools. However, I think once myself and many users are quite familiar with it, I think that it will be a great and useful development through design development. No. All right. So another item that has been added to Revit 2021 is slanted walls. So I know slanted walls have been something that a lot of people have asked for over the years, and they're finally available. So I think we're all going to be excited about that. So before we look at that in Revit a little bit more, just some key points for everyone to know. You can apply the slant before you draw the wall, after you draw it. It works with curved walls. You can adjust it with grips. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, especially if it's a curved wall. You can go to a full plus 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees. And additionally, windows and doors can be slanted or vertical to work with that wall. So let's flip over to Revit and take a look at that. Okay. So if we go, I'm just going to start from scratch with this. If we go to the architecture and wall command, I'm just going to select a basic wall that I already have. And down here in the constraints section is we're looking at the cross section, and you can tell it vertical, or by default, you can tell it slanted, and then you can also tell it its degree. So if we just draw a vertical wall here for a moment, we see that it does come in vertical. If we take a look at this in 3D, you can always go and later change it to slanted. And I'm just going to tell it a simple 5 degrees. And as you can see here, as we're working through it, a positive kind of slopes inward in relation to the exterior layer. And if we go to a negative 5 degrees, it starts sloping outward. So one of the things that I do want to point out, as I was kind of messing around with this, is the software will recognize where you were drawing the walls, but however, in relation to your cut plane for whatever your views are, you're gonna see the walls obviously slanted inward, so it might take a little bit of getting used to. So what I did in this instance, let me just hide some of these walls temporarily. I drew a simple 10 by 10 box, knowing that I wanted that. And when I did draw them in there, let me just delete this one so y'all can see. Probably a little easier for you. So we do a wall, and I know I want my finished face interior. And say I want it slanted. We want to go that 5 degrees inside. I'm just going to draw a box around here. We click to that point, and we click to that point. And obviously, since they're slanted, it looks a little odd. But if we look at this in section, we zoom in here, we take a quick dimension from one point to the other, we do see that that is our 10 feet. So just keep that in mind as you're all getting used to working with slanted walls. That cut plane might throw you off a little bit in the beginning. So one of the other items with the slanted walls is relation to doors and windows. So I've put this back to vertical. Just gonna throw a door in here real quick that I have loaded. and it automatically is there. Now, if we go to 3D, I switch back and forth from plan and 3D because I think it's a little easier to see. So if we go, we select this wall. So the first time you change it to slanted, the door is not going to react to it. You will have to click on the door, and under its constraints as well, it now has an orientation of vertical or slanted. So if we change it to slanted, it automatically takes that degree measurement from the wall. So you can't really do a combination, so just be aware of that for everyone moving forward. However, I did learn as I was looking through all this, if we change this wall back to vertical, the door will react accordingly. And if then, we change our mind again and we change it back to slanted, maybe we want it at 10 degrees this time, the door will react accordingly again. So that first initial slant, the elements will not react, but if you go back and forth a little bit, they start to. Just reading through all my notes here to make sure I tell you guys everything that there is. One point I do want to make about this, with these slanted walls now going from interior and exterior, you really want to make sure that your wall construction is built properly. The exterior materials are on that exterior side and the interior are on the interior. Okay, so I do think this will be very helpful for a lot of people moving forward. I know it's something that a lot of people have wanted for a little while, and we finally got it. So that's exciting. Okay, let's flip back to PowerPoint. So some tips and tricks that we have found that are available in Revit 2021. While these might not be the biggest things out there that you find when you Google, we certainly find them helpful, and we think you guys will too. So some small items. And we are going to look at these in Revit. I just wanted to list them out for you so you guys know that they're there. Row striping for schedules, real-time realistic views, a rotate tag with component, enable view filters. Those hard-coded Revit line styles are now always at the bottom of the dialog box. There's a BIM 360 home link on the Revit homepage, and now PDF and raster images are linkable. They don't just have to be inserted. Okay, so let's take a look at that in Revit now. Oop. All right, so that first one, there's row striping. So if we go to a door schedule, I've already put this in here, but let's take a look at it. If we go over to our appearance and edit, and now automatically just appears stripe rows. So first color you can choose, which is white, second color is gray. Additionally, a great aspect of this is if you want it to appear on sheets, you can. If you don't want it to appear on the sheet and you just want it to be in the schedule view as you're working on it, you can do that also. So if we do an OK, we do a quick look at our schedule sheet, we see that that striping is not there. But when we see it in our working view, it is there. So depending upon how you guys work and how you have your graphic standards, this can be a great item to implement for you. Okay, there's real-time realistic views. So let's hope that my internet can handle all of this and share in the screen with you guys so that we can show you and walk around a little bit. Hopefully the spinny wheel can, sometimes it makes me a little nervous. We never know. Okay, so in your little box over here, there's now a fun little paper airplane symbol that is telling you to fly. So we're gonna click on this, and now we see this kind of U-shaped with two arrows on either end, and you can kind of just look around, and hopefully this is updating for you guys in real time. I'm not sure how smooth it is, but you can look around from any point of view. You can't walk, but you can certainly pivot. And I find this helpful if you're sitting there with a client and they're wanting to change some items. You don't necessarily have to export it to another rendering software for them to see and look around what all is going on. You can really see it lifetime. If I click on, just going to click modify to get out of that. You know, I can come in here and change the, maybe, the panel type of these cabinets, and you can see that in real time. It's quite helpful. It's not just a static view anymore. So whether, you know, I think it'll be useful. Okay, another item that has been implemented is a rotate tag with component. So let's take a look at what that means. So over the years, a lot of tags have always remained either completely vertical or completely horizontal, and they didn't rotate with the element that they were hosted to. Now we can see tags and elements such as this couch here. It is rotating with the couch. So if I rotate this back, maybe I want to go the opposite direction. That tag is going to rotate with it. However, admittedly, one hiccup that I did see with this is that you can't default it back to a horizontal or a vertical orientation. So you guys can decide for yourselves if that's something you want or something you don't. Maybe you have certain instances where you have a rotating tag and other times you just default to the vertical or horizontal. But it's now available for use, so why not? So another item that has been added is the enable view filters within the filters tab of your visibility and graphic overrides. Now I don't have any filters applied here, but we now see this column enable filter. And what that allows you to do, it allows you to still have a filter applied to this view. However, if you want to take it off for 5 minutes to kind of just work on something without seeing everything in a very specific manner, you can do that without actually taking the filter off of the view. So that's great for those little tasks that you need to do that filter might be a little bit of a hiccup for you. Okay. And then to annotate, so the hard-coded lines, I'm just going to do the keyboard shortcut, guys, because let's be honest, that's what I use instead of trying to find it on that ribbon. So now we see all these hard-coded lines have the little brackets. They're always going to appear at the end of a list now, which is quite helpful. That way you're not scrolling through a bunch of things. Hopefully you can keep your detail lines a little bit more organized than what they were beforehand. It's a small thing, but hey, it could make a big difference. Okay, another item, I'm going to flip over to another Revit here for a minute. Within your Revit 2021 home screen, there is now a link to go directly to BIM 360. And if you're like me, you use BIM 360 a lot. So even though you might have it, saved as a bookmark on your computer, it's not always going there the fastest. So I think it's quite easy. You click the BIM 360. It's popped up on another window, but let me drag it over for you guys. And automatically, it takes you to that folders of where this project lives. So now you can get to those plans and project files a lot faster than what you used to be able to, at least for me. Okay. And last, but certainly not least, we're going to look at, we can now link PDFs and images. So I know a lot of people, you really prefer links because links within Revit don't add to the file size, which I'm sure many of you know. We don't like large files for Revit. They can always be large enough by themselves. So this is a awesome thing to have. Okay, so we do insert. You can now do a link a PDF. And I'm just going to pick an example I have here real quick. So we're just going to open. And resolution, you get anywhere from 72 to 600. I always pick somewhere between 300 and 600. Do an OK. Thinks a little bit, gives you spinny wheel, and then you now have your PDF. And just like any of your other links, there's now the PDF within your Manage Links tab. So if you need, you can do a reload from, a reload and unload, or a remove. And you can even place an instance, which I've now realized I had 2 of the same PDFs in there. So you can always come back in here, remove one of them, and place an instance of the first one instead. Another item is a link and image. So do a fun little picture for everyone here. And a cute little puppy. Who doesn't love a cute little puppy on a Thursday? So again, and those manage links, you now have that image. You see that picture there. You can reload just like everything else. And there you go. So honestly, that's all of the items that are new in the Revit 2021. I think a lot of them are great. I can't wait to play with Revit 21 more and get more familiar with it. So let's see. Sarah, are there any questions coming through for us at this time?
Hey, Mariah, great job. Thank you. Yes, one question about the piece you were doing with the slanted wall, and you showed how the door moved with it after you changed it. And then what happens if the door is installed prior to the wall? Will it still move, or will it not know that?
If the door is installed prior to the wall?
Prior to the slanting wall, she's asking. So I don't know.
So, okay, there you go, guys. That's the PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to delete these out here, clean this view up a little bit. So if we do just the wall and we do it, it's going to do the slant to begin with. I'm thinking maybe this is where she's going with it. And we draw this in there. It's going to create a similar door. So by default, the door is going to go to vertical. So ignore all the level lines, guys. You know, by default, we just drew this wall slanted at 5 degrees. When we put the door in, it defaulted to vertical. Let me see. And that might have been a setting that I chose, so let me double check that for y'all. I do think the slanted walls are going to be helpful. I do think there might be a little bit of a learning curve with them, and the best way for everyone to, you know, realize how they're using it. Okay, so I'm just looking through my constraints here. I don't see anything that is telling me whether it is vertical or slanted. So it's just it's automatically defaulting to that vertical. So that is something that you guys are going to have to be aware of, to kind of go back, and if you placed, you know, you draw on your walls and then you placed windows and doors, those elements aren't automatically picking up that sloped wall. And another thing to note, the door I am using here is a TrueStyle brand that I downloaded off BIM 360, and it is reading these elements, you know, reading the slanted versus vertical. So that shouldn't be a concern for you all. That I know a lot of people don't necessarily use out-of-the-box doors and windows provided from Autodesk, but the other elements that we are downloadable from BIM Object are reacting accordingly to this. So hopefully that might have answered a little bit. I'm not sure. If not, we can elaborate on that and look at that more.
Yeah, if anyone has a follow-up question to that, just type that in. I'm hesitant to open the lines, Mara, because now with everybody working from home, I think we're going to get a lot of background noise and everything. So I would prefer everybody just please type your questions in the question panel.
I agree, yes.
You know, just we got a lot of people on this call and I don't want to embarrass anybody. So, okay, another question. Can you show us what happens if you add a window to that slanted wall after you modify the door orientation?
Yeah, so let's take I'm gonna just hide these level lines real quick, guys, because You don't need to see them. They're not applicable to all this. Drag this out a little bit. So this window, I believe I downloaded it. I'm placing it in 3D, which I don't recommend, guys. Doing my own thing that I don't recommend to you. So the window by default is coming in as we see vertical as well. You know, if we're doing, we click on it. Okay, so constraint orientation, slanted, it does choose it. So unfortunately, it does look like there might be a few extra computer clicks for y'all to get the doors and windows slanted as we want. But yeah, at least it's there. That's all I got.
Great. Let's see, any other questions? We'll give them another minute. So that's all that is in there right now. Is this available now for download? Someone's asking. So, let's see. Okay, does the slanted option apply to any hosted elements?
So I want to, can I go on the record saying yes, but I'm not entirely sure of yes. So a lot of, you know, what I've been testing out is the, you know, the doors and windows slant. I'm trying to think of another thing off the top of my head that's hosted to a wall that y'all would need to see. If someone can give me an idea, I can probably look at that. We go to an elevation view. Do we have any wall hosted lights? I know the sconce in there. Okay, so I know the sconce is supposed to be wall hosted. So let's see what that does for us. So yes, you are seeing it is hosted. I'm trying to rotate not too fast so y'all can see that. So we do say that it is aligning there. Now, what does that look like in a section view? I think I put it on this one. So what that looks like, I'm guessing the insert point is somewhere down in this corner for this light. I'm not entirely sure because it is a downloaded element. So it's maintaining the vertical kind of profile that a light would have. Yeah, that might be, let's see if we make this a little bit more extreme, what it does. Yeah, so it's following that pivot point, if you will, of the light. So, you know, is that, you know, is the light instance the greatest? Perhaps, perhaps not. You know, I could see a few little workarounds possibly needing to happen for that.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Any other questions, guys? Got so many of you. I can't believe we've only had a couple.
I know.
But that's okay. Yeah, this is being recorded. We're going to host this up on the YouTube channel and can certainly send it out. Douglas says, great job. Thanks, Douglas.
Well, thank you.
It's always a nice one. Yeah, so I think I'll give it another minute here, but I think we're all set, Mariah. I'm just reading through most of these. Yeah, most of these I can answer privately here.
And if you all have any other questions, you know, feel free to reach out to myself. My email is listed on the screen, or to any of our MicroCAD team. They're all kind of awesome. if I do say so myself. Everyone has, kind of their own little specialty. I'm sure if I can't answer a question for you, one of my colleagues certainly can. We're here as a great team and a resource to support you guys.
Absolutely. And this phone number is rolling out. Everybody's working from home, but we're all answering our phones. So you can still reach any of the AEs or any of your sales account managers. Tech support desk, help desk is still up and running. So you shouldn't have any delays there. All right.
All right. Well, we are right at 11:30. That's excellent. There's no other questions. We will sign off. I hope everyone stays healthy and safe during these times, and just hug those loved ones a little tighter.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.